Don't adjust your sets. Don't adjust your smartphone, your tablet, your computer. This is Virtue here, and this is Virtue's brand of wrestling on BigVito.com and the Big Vito brand. And you know me, I'm a New York Knicks fan, and I have been since the late 80s. John Starks, Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, Allen Houston, Greg Anthony, Derek Harper. You know the drill. Later on, Latrell Sprewell, Larry Johnson. I got to see them in a couple NBA finals. They lost in 7 games against the Houston Rockets. They got swept, I believe, by the San Antonio Spurs. They had some great battles against Michael Jordan and especially the Pacers and Reggie Miller. But I sit here before you right now in a Boston Celtics. Paul Pierce. I'm not a Celtics fan. Oh, by the way, this is Virtue's brand of wrestling. All right, well, let's talk about wrestling. I watched Monday Night Raw tonight. It sucked. They don't know what they're doing with Elias. I don't know if he's in the doghouse or if creative has nothing for him. But I'm not going to talk about wrestling this week. I'm just very disappointed in the way they deliver their product. And again, everybody knows I still believe in these wrestlers and the talent, but when the creative is crap, and then I see people crapping on Lashley and Reigns and Owens and Braun, and yet they kind of bypass the fact that it's creative's fault. It just makes me want to take a break from talking about wrestling. So since we have the NBA free agency, I'm going to talk about a little bit of NBA as a fan. Yes, I live in Cleveland, Ohio. No, I am not a Cavaliers fan. I am a New York Knicks fan. Along the way, I got into fantasy basketball. And the very first year I did fantasy basketball, I believe I had drafted one Paul Pierce on my team. And it was the year he had gotten stabbed in the nightclub in Massachusetts. I think his rookie year or after his rookie year, something like that. It was like the following season or 2 seasons after that, he became a star. He blew up. You know, I think back then it was him and Antoine Walker. And those Celtics teams, they didn't go to any finals, but they got deep into some playoffs. They went against the Nets a couple times, the Pacers. I think some of those teams made and the Sixers made the finals. So Boston was very competitive. I was a Paul Pierce fan because the guy won me my very first ever fantasy basketball league. Yes, I had a whole long list of players on my team, but Pierce's number stood out because I got him for like next to nothing or in the late rounds, and he ended up being a stud. So I followed Paul Pierce during his whole career. Everybody knows they finally brought in Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, and in 2008, Paul Pierce got his championship. Got to Game 7 a couple years later, but Kobe beat him. Very fun to watch. He had a lot of game-winning shots. Once he got traded to the Nets, he had a couple decent playoff matchups with the Nets against Toronto. And then I think it was the Wizards he went to. He had a game-winning shot against the Hawks, and they beat the Hawks. And then after that, he went to the Clippers. His career was pretty much done. Now, with that said, I remember one rivalry he had with LeBron James. Where are our rivalries? Everybody knows Celtics-Lakers. Kobe Pierce. They went against each other 2 out of 3 years in the late 2008 and 2010. But all of these players now just want to go somewhere with super friends, or it's not like it used to be back when the Knicks built a great team. Michael Jordan and the Bulls built a great team. You had dying dynasties at the time of the Celtics, the Lakers, the Pistons a little bit, the passing of the guard to the Bulls era. Then, you had the Spurs become good. And you had your Pacers were always battling. Your Lakers had their dynasty. What the hell happened? And I'm going to say it was right around 2003, 2004 when LeBron James came into the NBA. He was given the golden platter. He was called Jordan before he ever approved anything. The guy never went to college, okay? Never went to college. Michael Jordan won a national championship against a tough Patrick Ewing-led Georgetown team, and I believe he hit the game winner. LeBron's compared to Jordan. LeBron never entered a dunk contest. Michael Jordan went up against the best dunkers almost of all time. Spud Webb, Dominique Wilkins, he was not afraid, and he beat them. The moral of the story is today in the NBA, when all else fails, jump ship. So let's talk about, we all know the history of LeBron James. Couldn't get it done with the Cavs. Was it the Cavs' fault? Did they not bring him enough talent the first go-around? Okay, he went to Miami, joined up with Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, won 2 out of 4 years, 2 championships in 4 seasons. But the 4th year, they lost to the Spurs, pretty bad fashion. I believe Kawhi Leonard was the MVP of that finals. LeBron decided to jump ship again and came back to Cleveland. Came back to Cleveland. Cleveland, after LeBron left the first time, Cleveland tanked and got all these number 1 draft picks and barely got him right. Took Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson, Deion Waiters, Anthony Bennett, Wiggins. They turned Wiggins into Kevin Love. Now LeBron went back to the tanking Cavs, and there was a mini super team in Cleveland. He went to the finals 4 more straight years, 8 consecutive years, 4 with the Heat, 4 with the Cavs. Won 2 championships with the Heat, got lucky and won 1 with the Cavs. Draymond Green, the nut shot, got suspended. I can't believe the Warriors lost 3 games in a row. Kyrie had an incredible 3-game run, averaged 30 points those 3 games. LeBron had the block in Game 7 on Iguodala. Yes, LeBron is LeBron. Kyrie's the one that hit the game-winning shot. They win a championship. Well, what happens the next year? Kevin Durant says, well, LeBron can just go back where, leaves Cleveland, they tank, wins championships, goes back to Cleveland after they have a good team around them, wins another championship. I'm out of here, Oklahoma City. I'm going to the Golden State Warriors. A lot of people called him a ring chaser. You know what? Good for Durant. Why not? Why not? Durant went to Golden State, and now they're 2 for 2. Durant has 2 championships in a row with Golden State. They had to get rid of Harrison Barnes, but, he's on Dallas now, and he's averaging 18, 19 a game. Definitely not your top-tier level star. But the moral of the story is, and here's my dog always wants to come into the video, and if not, he starts barking. Look at the camera. I'm going to put him in the room. So as I was interrupted by Hunter, it's almost like I'm LeBron James leaving town right there. So Durant was smart, and you know what? He won both finals MVPs. So clearly he was the best player. He just wanted help, and he went to the help. Instead of Oklahoma City didn't bring him the help. For whatever reason, him, Harden, and Westbrook couldn't get it done. LeBron actually got his first ring at their expense. But here we are now of big superstars fleeing. But you know what? LeBron started it to join Super Friends when he left Cleveland to go to Miami. You can even say a little bit back in the day, the Lakers kind of started it with Kobe, Shaq, and the way they put that team together. But there were some trades involved there, some free agent signings. I don't think it was quite the jumping ship, abandoning ship to go to a super team like it is today. Boston Danny Ainge kind of created that. That's why I'm wearing the Celtics jersey, to prove my point, when he brought in Garnett and Allen to join Paul Pierce in one offseason. So that maybe was the first super team. I would even say more so than that Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. And then that, LeBron couldn't beat the Celtics, and then does what he does, goes to Miami. So anyway, he ends up back in Cleveland. How convoluted is that? Writes this whole thing. Everybody knows he hates Dan Gilbert, the owner, but he's back in Cleveland, so he can win one for Cleveland and then end the curse. And you know what? He did. But people didn't give Kyrie Irving. It was all LeBron, what you did for the city, Now, I get the Cavs with Kyrie before LeBron went back weren't anything. But maybe Kyrie didn't have enough help yet. We don't know what that Cavs team would have looked like with Wiggins and Kyrie. Now, probably maybe like a 6 to 8 seed, but I understand. So LeBron comes back and they're instantly in the finals every year. So yes, LeBron is the best player on the planet. Of his generation, he'll never be as great as Michael Jordan. And I would argue in ways Magic Johnson is better than LeBron and Wilt Chamberlain to a degree. But whatever, I digress. But I'll say LeBron is the best player of his generation. By the way, is anybody interested in watching SmackDown? Back to basketball. So they win. Kyrie is clearly overshadowed by LeBron. And he's like, what the I won that finals just as much as LeBron did. Well, guess what? Kyrie opened a lot of people's eyes. Didn't like playing with LeBron. Didn't like being in his shadow. Didn't like being in the offense that LeBron demands a team to have that he's on. Kyrie got his wish, got traded to Boston. Who knows what would have happened with Boston this year with all those young talent that Danny Ainge was able to somehow get via draft picks because he got rid of Pearson, Garnett as they were aging and brought in all these. That was just a genius move, by the way. I wish my New York Knicks were set up like that, but they got to get Dolan. He's got to sell that team to a better owner, and the Knicks aren't going to be good until something like that happens. So, nonetheless, Kyrie's gone, and now all of a sudden, people really want to play with LeBron. Well, everybody knows LeBron still found his way to the finals. I don't understand how the Raptors choked again against them and let the Cavs sweep them. Indiana put up a fight, lost in 7 games, and then of course without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, the Celtics pushed the Cavs to the brink in the Eastern Conference Finals, but ultimately LeBron went to Boston and won Game 7, got back to the finals for the 8th year in a row. However, he was outclassed. They were outclassed. Everybody says LeBron had an awesome series, awesome playoff run, one of the greatest of all time. That's because his team was so much shit. He had to touch the ball and do all those things. But to me, a great player gets other teammates. They don't have to all be Scottie Pippen, but I believe if Jordan was on the Cavs and LeBron's spot, Kevin Love would have looked closer to Scottie Pippen. I'm not saying he is. He would have looked closer to Scottie Pippen, but instead he looked more like Kevin Love. I just don't think LeBron has that mentality, that edge of the mindset of a Jordan. Physically, he's a freak of nature, gifted by the gods, whether he's on steroids or it's just his body type. He's never had a serious injury. That's where he's the greatest of all time. But he is behind Jordan in so many ways mentally. And anytime there is controversy or loss and uncertainty, he flees. Fled Cleveland the first time, fled Miami, fled Cleveland again, now goes back to the joins the LA Lakers. Why? So he can learn from Magic Johnson how to become a billionaire? So what chain of events happened in the last 24 to 48 hours? Everybody knows Paul George was rumored to go play with LeBron potentially with the Lakers. He stayed in OKC with Westbrook. So apparently he's cool to be Westbrook's 1B. You know what? He did have that serious leg injury from that Olympic type or world, whatever that was. He probably just wanted his money and got it now, and Oklahoma was willing to give it to him. So I find it interesting, though. LeBron lands on the Lakers, and then they start signing all these like JaVale McGee, Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, which might not be too bad. The 1-year contracts. They got the insane Lonzo Ball, probably going to get rid of him. Kawhi, I think Leonard still wants to leave the Spurs and sign with the Lakers when he's a free agent next year. Whether the Spurs trade him or not remains to be seen. So at some point, Kawhi and LeBron are going to be on the Lakers. Well, what happens today, as before I'm recording this, as I'm watching Monday Night Raw, I see the Golden State Warriors sign another hot free agent, DeMarcus Cousins, to 1 year, $5 million. Everybody knows, if you're a basketball fan, Cousins tore his Achilles last year and pretty much going to be out half of this season. He'll probably be back, just say that's January. If they milk it, All-Star break. Well, the Warriors, that's fine for them because they don't need him. They're going to the finals probably without him. They bring him in. He gets healthy. When he comes back, works his way into the starting lineup, now you have Curry, Thompson, Durant, Draymond Green, and Boogie, DeMarcus Cousins, 5 All-Stars. If they don't win a three-peat, 3 in a row, 4 of the last 5 years with that lineup, and again, you never know what's going to happen with injuries. I understand that. That will be probably a bigger letdown than when they blew the 3-1 lead against the Cavs. But it's just so funny that LeBron gets all this attention. I'm with the Lakers now. We're going to build something here, get Lakers great again. I think in LeBron's mind, he's, with as good as the Celtics are probably going to be with all that young talent, and then when Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving are healthy, we could have the rivalry rekindle of Boston and the Lakers, just like we had back in the day, just like we had a little bit with Kobe in the Pierce and Garnett era. And part of me thinks LeBron went to L.A. because, assuming he plays 4 or 5 more years, averaging 24, 23, 24, 25 points a game, he's going to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time points record. Why not be a Laker? Kareem was a Laker when he did it. Why not be a Laker to do it? So LeBron, it is so calculating. He's trying to make people forget about the 6 finals losses he had. Everybody knows he's got 3 out of the 9 times he's been there. But it's funny, anytime LeBron does something, it's as if the rest of the NBA tries to counter it to beat LeBron. Now, does that say he is that awesome? Perhaps. Or is it just the demeanor of this guy was a king before he became a prince even, when he came into the NBA in 03-04 with the Cavs? And by the way, how lucky is that the Cavs get the number 1 draft pick the year LeBron comes in? How many times, whether they had the worst record that year before with the highest percentage you get, how often did that talk about a fix? And LeBron leaves Cleveland to go to Miami, and they get all those number 1 picks, and they botched a couple of those high draft picks, but just talk about rigged. And now LeBron is in LA. Boston's building a great team in the East, and without LeBron in the East, Boston's probably going to be the team to beat, the dynasty in the East. Philly's okay. After that, I think everyone else is just second tier good. The Raptors to me are blah. Pacers are tough, but Wizards have kind of fallen back. Milwaukee's, borderline. My Knicks, I just would like to see them get in the playoffs, even if they only got, swept or won 1 game. But LeBron, in his mind, hey, we're going to have a Celtics and Lakers rival, right? And then the Golden State Warriors get DeMarcus Cousins. Now, I don't know how long the Warriors are going to be able to keep doing this. At some point, some of those guys are going to want max money and go to the teams that can pay them. That they'll be content with their 3 ring, however many rings they'll have. I can see at least one of them go, and then that team starts people catch up to them a little bit more. Maybe the Rockets then. The Rockets almost beat them this year. Now, a lot of people say Chris Paul didn't get hurt. The Rockets would have won the championship. They would have went to the finals. Well, yes, Paul didn't play Game 6 and 7 in the Western Conference Finals, but if he did, do we still know for sure the Warriors wouldn't have manned up and won those last 2 games? We don't. But it's just so funny. LeBron's thunder was stolen again, and he wins a championship for Cleveland. He steals Kyrie's thunder. Durant goes to the Warriors. The Warriors since won twice, 2 championships, made the Cavs look foolish. And then LeBron jets again, because that's what he does best as he flees, joins the Lakers. Could Kawhi join him? Could Boogie join him? No. Boogie joins in a shocking move the Golden State Warriors. And at some point around the All-Star break, or once Boogie's back, and he's 90 to 100%, they're going to have 5 All-Stars starting on their basketball team. Iguodala and Livingston are going to be on the bench. And those guys are – I mean, it's incredible. If they don't win it this year, either they're going to have a major injury or two, or they're going to be biggest choke artists of all time. So with that said, I really wanted to talk about some wrestling tonight. But, it's the NBA is crazy, and I wish this super team bullshit has to stop. I would rather have 1 or 2 superstars per team with a lot of good role players and more team basketball. I'm just getting sick of all these all-stars joining up on big teams or having to go play with someone in particular because, they think it'll help them add to their legacy. I get it. I understand that. But it just doesn't seem as organic as it used to be back in the day. We had just so many, the Bulls, the Pacers, the Knicks, the Cavs with Mark Price and those guys. They had a couple good teams back in the day. The Hawks had they were pretty good and competitive. The Blazers, the Suns, the Lakers, the Supersonics out west. And now it's like 3 or 4 teams. Every year it's literally that was a few years ago you would say 3 or 4 teams. Now it's like 1, 2, 3 teams. And you pretty much can pick one of those few that are going to win it all. But back when I was growing up, late 80s, all the way into the 90s, and the early 2000s, you had a dozen teams every year, 10 to 12 solid teams every year. You could say we're going to win it. And it made it fun. And, when you found out who finally won it, good for them. But it was fun to watch. So, yes, on the Big Vito brand, on BigVito.com, I am wearing a Boston jersey. But, again, I'm a big Paul Pierce fan. Wish he was on the Knicks back in his heyday. I would have probably got to see a championship for them. LeBron never went. He never went to New York. The lights are probably too bright. And to be honest with you, anybody that's went to New York, the big stars of the last 15 years, they've all sucked. Stoudemire, Amari couldn't hack it. Carmelo couldn't hack it. Marbury, there's so much pressure to win there. It is the mecca of basketball, but the Knicks only have a couple of those championships around 1970-ish with Willis Reed and Frazier and guys like that. Maybe one day all these players now that have to build these super teams will retire and we'll finally start doing it the right way again. But let's do the movie of the week, because I wish I could go back in time to watch when basketball was great to me in the 80s, in the 90s, early 2000s, before Jordan retired, before LeBron came into the league. The Back to the Future trilogy. Christopher Lloyd, Michael J. Fox. You can't get any better than this. This is a true trilogy. No matter how many times you've watched it, you watch it again. You see it on TV, you stop the channel. It's timeless. And we just don't really get that today. Everything's got to be more than a trilogy. It's got to become a franchise. It's got to become Marvel action superhero movies. It's just, I miss the past. We all have to evolve and move on with the times, right? But sometimes evolution sucks. And things that you experienced in the past, it's better. Like the NBA. Like wrestling. The Attitude Era. The Golden Era. We had WCW and ECW and WWF all at the same time. We had movies like this. We had the Jordan era of dominance. The guy retired for 2 years in the middle of his prime to go try to play baseball and, film Space Jam. So we got to see the Rockets win a couple. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing how great the past. I'm not holding on to the past, folks, but it is a lot of times better than where we are and where we're heading. And wrestling, I can say wrestling is the biggest culprit. Wrestling overall today absolutely sucks from an entertaining standpoint, because what wrestlers think entertaining and the niche fan base thinks entertaining is the choreographed stuff back and forth in the matches that results to a finish that's predetermined. The entertainment stuff is going, and people now think the wrestling's the entertainment. I like the wrestling and all of that, but if you could incorporate how everything used to be done in the 80s and 90s of wrestling when it became sports entertainment, we'd all be living happier, watching wrestling, talking about it, instead of not wanting to talk about it and all of a sudden doing a Virtue's brand of wrestling video talking about LeBron James going to the Lakers, Boogie Cousins going to the Warriors. You know what I mean? Absolutely insane. And I wish I could sit here and pull out something off the top of my head to talk about this week regarding wrestling. But when I watched Raw tonight and I saw Elias, who just got an Intercontinental Championship shot against Seth Rollins, then that Monday Night Raw after that cut a full song saying he was going to be in the chase to get a Universal title shot against Brock. And then he was taken off TV and he's put in this little skit with Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan, and they're laughing at him, or whatever they did. Shame on you, WWE. Shame on you for not building proper stars. Shame on you for not building Roman Reigns the right way. Failed as a babyface, make him a heel. Make him shoot promos against the Smarks. Just shame on you, but you win. You win, WWE, because you have all these network subscribers. You're having your $75 stock. You're over $5 billion market cap. You win. We watch your product every week and complain about it, and somehow you're making money. So my apologies. I came in strong, like I'm doing a whole basketball video today, and I ended up talking a little bit about wrestling because I had to get my rant across. But that's it for this week on the Big Vito brand, BigVito.com. This is Virtue's brand of NBA, Virtue's brand of wrestling. I am going to be in Florida next week. If I have time, and they're not too busy, maybe I can meet up with Vito and we can do one of these videos with Vito and me live. If not, at some point, like I've said, when everything settles down for Noel and Vito, I am going to get Vito on some of these so we can once again, like we used to on that other website, talk about wrestling. And he's been in it. He's been in all the big promotions, so he can give you his expertise. So for Big Vito, for the Big Vito brand, for BigVito.com, I am Virtue. Follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. I'll entertain you there as well. Have a good one, everybody. Hey, it's Virtue here from BigVito.com and the Big Vito brand. And I wanted to let everybody know, in case you already didn't, go to ProWrestlingTees.com and search Big Vito, because you will see a spread of t-shirts that are must-owned. And you know what? Here is one as an example. So I hope Noel puts this on the end of some of my videos, because it really makes me look like a big deal that I'm doing commercials for Big Vito's t-shirts on ProWrestlingTees.com. But seriously, folks, you want to represent the Pavarotti of hard shots to the body? Seriously, no joke. You want to get color with the Big Vito and the Big Vito brand? Head on over to PWT. Everybody knows it as ProWrestlingTees.com, and search Big Vito, and you will be able to choose your size. And you know what? I believe once in a while they run promotions and sales, so you always want to look out for that. But anyway, I am Virtue from BigVito.com and the Big Vito brand. Thank you for listening to me.